So we'll just have to deal with that. Hi, Susan. I see you there. Melinda. Hi, Donna. Yeah, thank you for your patience and for popping over to this other stream. There's something weird with the way this thing connects that eludes me at the moment, but I will figure it out. So I just have to do more live streams, right? And then we'll figure it out and it'll all be good. Okay, Mercury retrograde yesterday, yeah. That doesn't usually affect me, you know. I hear people talk about it all the time. Normally it's not a big deal for me, but maybe that's what it is. I'll take it. Storm Cloud, glad you could join us. Awesome. So you left me a long question on the video that I posted. If you have more questions about that, just let me know here and we can expound upon that. Awesome, Laura, welcome. So glad you made it over here. All righty. And I think I have to share this link with a couple more people. So you guys, if you want to start posting questions in the chat, go ahead and we'll get to them shortly. Alrighty, there we go. Louise, hi. Oh, that's a great question. Awesome. Okay. So Susan, you watched an Akashic Records Summit last week, and the records do not include other dimensions or lives on heavenly bodies. Huh. Well, I don't know. You know, that's their take on it. My take on it is from Metatron. So I'm going to go with that one. And I just channeled a message about that, of how we are on multi dimensions all at the same time. So, and that feels true to me. You know, when I've connected with the records, I've felt that. And in fact, what's been interesting, I was going to talk to you guys about this, is that something shifted for me recently. I haven't figured out where and when it started, but all of a sudden I'm becoming aware of more flow than before. And it was pretty great before. So this is phenomenal. And more access. So just before I got on here, I got another message from Metatron that I'll be posting either tomorrow or the next day to start a new series. I want to do a monthly post of, you know, what do you want to share with us for this month? And in my head, I was thinking, oh, it's going to be like, you know, a monthly forecast, maybe, you know, some predictions. I don't know. But I just said to Metatron, listen, I want to do this on a monthly basis. I'd like you to be the spokesperson, but if not, it'll be okay if it's the rest of the team. And just share with us what we need to know for, in this case, the month of June. And what came through was more beating the drum about light workers coming forth and about the transformation that we're going through. It was in more detail, so that was really good. I got over 1,000 words in that particular transmission. So it's a little foggy because when I channel it, it's kind of coming through, but I'm not really consciously getting it all in the moment. So I'll have to go back and look at it again to get you more detail, but it will be coming up on that video so you can listen to it. But yeah, so Susan, those are things that you can ask specific questions about, and I'll be happy to channel that and see what they have to say. But it's my understanding that, yeah, we are all connected. And it's on the quantum level, it's so much bigger and more vast than what we have any concept of. And that's the mind blown part of wrapping your mind around that, yeah, I'm here. I feel real here. I'm connected to all of you and we're connected to each other. And yet there's a significant portion of us energetically that's existing in multiple dimensions, off doing other things. So someday we will expand into that energy frequency where we'll be more conscious of it. We will be able to connect with it, but we're just not there yet. We are further than we have ever been before, which is really phenomenal, and it's only getting better. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where this is going, and who knows, so much coming. So let me just pop back over here and see what I have missed in your comments. Can you guys hear me okay? I did a sound check before I started, but just to be sure, let me know. Physical healing in the records for minor issues because of tendonitis in your hand. You know, sometimes, but unless it's connected to something past life, probably not. And for third dimensional issues like that, it's always wise to, you know, get the medical attention, do what you can in that realm. And then I would do energy work and also anti-inflammatories probably. Because, you know, I've had carpal tunnel myself and was able to treat that with a combination of EFT, the tapping, and homeopathics to reduce the inflammation. And that's pretty much all gone without surgery. And they were telling me I had to have surgery. So I know it's possible to do that. But, you know, it's one of those things, Susan, it's like, let's get our whole toolbox involved. It's a nice thing to think that, oh, we can just go to the records and ask for this to be fixed and magically, poof, it's going to go away. But not everything does work that way. And we are third dimensional beings. So we have to address some things at the third dimensional level. I hope that makes sense. Let me know. Harry's mom, great to see you here. The best way to learn to read the records. That's a great question. So the way I started was Abraham. I was listening to an Abraham audio, and Abraham was telling this person, you can channel too. And that really, for some reason, really hit me. And I'm like, okay, Abraham, I'll try. And so I started doing what Esther and Jerry talked about, how they would do 15 minutes a day. They would just sit down and be quiet and meditate and see what happened. And over a period of time, as I did that, I got more and more information. And then, of course, I took courses and I learned how to do some of the more expansive readings that I do now. But just to get started and access, truly, you probably all are doing it already and you don't even realize it. Because we've all, as I said earlier, our vibrational frequency has risen so that it's easier for us to connect. And very often we are connecting, we're getting those things from our guides, those insights, those messages, but we're believing that we made it up or that it's our ego, and so we dismiss it. So what I want you to do, Harry's mom, when you feel something coming that's like an inspiration or a thought that came out of nowhere that you hadn't even been on track with before, stop, take notice of that, write it down, connect with your guides, ask for more about that. Do a little meditation, just see if it expands, but keep it in mind. Don't forget about it, because if you forget about it, then you won't connect. You've got to consistently write it down, record it in some fashion, because that allows you to expand more into it. And from there, truly, it's just practice. But if you want more information about that, you can shoot me an email and, you know, I can let you know about some courses maybe. But just to connect with your guides, as we're talking about now, and get whatever they want to share with you, that just comes with practice and meditation. And then there's a big helping of trust that what you're getting is really from your guides. So here's the other thing about that. Before you do it, say a little prayer. Ask for access to your records. And if you want an official prayer, again, send me an email and I'll send you one. But it really doesn't require that. All it requires is for you to get quiet in that meditative state and just ask for access to your records. They're yours. You have the right to access them anytime you want. And then when you do that, just be quiet and allow whatever to come through. And whatever tiny little bit you get, doesn't matter how tiny, record it in some fashion. And you'll watch over time, it will expand. I've told people this story many times. You may have heard it, that the first time I did it, I got a purple blob. And I love purple, so that's not surprising. And then it expanded over time until I would get movies. So it's all the senses were engaged. I could hear, I could feel, I could touch, I could taste and smell. You know, I could feel. It was all of those things. So that's possible for all of us. And the really cool thing about this is, you know, a couple decades ago, we couldn't have done that, except for maybe a very few exceptions who had a higher frequency, but it just wasn't available to us. Now we've all shifted into this new space where it is so much more readily available, and it's going to expand, because when I started, I didn't get all the senses. That has come over time. So as you expand your vibrational frequency, you'll get more. So just know that. You know, some people go in and they say, well, I don't see anything, or I don't feel anything. That's okay. Whatever you get, whatever sense kicks in for you, that's the easiest one for you. Go with that. Enjoy it, do it more, and allow it to expand. And you will find over time, with dedication and practice, it will continue to expand. So I hope that helps. Okay. Hang on, I'm just getting to the next one. So Luis asked about my first time connecting with the records. I think I just explained that, Luis. So that's nice synchronicity, right? Let me know if you have more questions about that. But yeah, it was like that. And it's just expanded ever since and just been so marvelous. So that's possible for every single one of you. And, let's just keep talking about it, practicing. I've been promising you guys for a few months this 21-day meditation series, and I am still working on it. It's just gotten pushed aside over and over because I'm doing all of these videos and sharing these messages with you. So it's still there. And as soon as I can get it together for you, we'll adventure on that one together. And that will help you a lot, because that steady days of over and over practice, sharing will really help. And doing it in a group, the collective energy will lift us all up, so that we'll all get further faster. Because that's what I didn't have when I started. I didn't have somebody to explain how things were, what the quote rules are to get me started. And when you don't have those guidelines, it's kind of like you're bopping all over the place, and it's a little harder to get moving. But yeah, we'll share those things together and expand together. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hi, Johanna. I see you're there. Beverly, glad you got over here. Leeser, save the questions about the personal things like the kitten for June the 19th when we do our Ask Your Guides. We'll do that on Zoom so that I can see you and connect with you. And we'll do those personal questions then. So if you're not on the list for that, Leeser, you want to sign up at akashaunleashed.com/VIP. And that's in the notes of all of my videos, so you can easily find that. Betty, I see you had a question, but it's disappeared, so I hope you'll repost it. Susan, we just got back to your physical question. Okay. Oh, and darn, it just jumped on me again. Hang on, you guys. Oh, that's so frustrating when it does that. I know you get it too, because I know when I'm on the live streams with the tarot readers, that happens, and it's like, whoosh, it's gone. And what happened to all those comments? So, okay. Susan, you want the prayer. Okay, so let me just make a note. You know what, you guys? I'll post a link to the prayer in the first pinned comment to this video after we're done tonight. So that way everybody can get it. And, my prayer is great to use. You can use Linda Howe's prayer. You can use anybody's prayer. Or as I said, make up your own. It really doesn't matter. It's the energy and intention. And that's why I tell you in all faith and confidence, you've all connected with your records and didn't realize it, because you were praying, you were connecting, but you didn't know how to hear the answers. And so when it came through, you probably just thought, oh, I made that up. And the other thing that I've said before, but for anybody who hasn't heard it, is that so very often when you get those messages from your guides, it will feel like your imagination. And you'll say, that's just ego talking. I made that up, whatever. And that happens to me too. I'll get something that sounds so outlandish. I'll have to say, wait a minute, did you guys actually say that, or did I make that up? And you can do that and they'll let you know. Usually I didn't make it up. They said it, because I'm in that energy. I'm in that connection with my records, and my intention is to only get messages from them. So when you're doing that, your ego's kind of on standby. It steps back and allows your guides to come through. So just know it can feel like a daydream. It can feel like a fantasy, or, your imagination. That's normal. That's what nobody ever explained to us. It's so important that we understand that and tell other people, because once they get it, they can start connecting too, and actually realizing some of those things that they thought were crazy that they've heard, popping into their head were really their guides. And once you know that, then you can take action on it and get results. And then life just starts flowing. I got an email from somebody, I think it was today, in response to some that I sent out about these upcoming channelings. And she said that she's just in the flow. And it's like, oh, that's so marvelous, because we're all moving forward into that space where we will be in the flow more often. And that's what I've been feeling lately. It's more flow, which is phenomenal, because who thought there could even be more than what there already was? But there's always new levels and new layers to get to as we move forward. So all of that's waiting for us. Okay, here we go. Melinda, you ask if there's a message from Bubba. Okay, and so bring that to me on the 19th, Melinda, because we'll go back and we'll connect with Bubba again. I just want to keep tonight's in this sharing information and learning more about the records and asking questions about the videos that I posted, because there's some deep teachings in those videos and you may not understand it all. So feel free to ask for clarification, get more information, because honestly and truly, I'll tell you, some of these things that come through, I don't understand what the heck they're talking about, at least in the beginning. And I got a message one time from Trees that you can find on my website. It's Elliot and the Homeboys. They came forward and taught me all this stuff about energy and frequency and how the trees are the sentinels of mankind. And they volunteered to do this for us sometime eons ago. And it's their job and their joy to do that, even though we use them and cut them down. It was just the most amazing message. So when they gave me this message, there were lots of things I didn't understand about energy and frequency that they were talking about, but I just knew it was important to share. So I put it on a blog post for people to read because maybe they understood it. And now, years later, I do understand it because they've filled in the gaps and I'm, raising my level of understanding. So sometimes you'll get things that don't make sense in the moment. And that's another good reason to write them down, because then you'll be able to go back later, get better understanding, fit the pieces together, because they're all the time giving us stuff that's like this big jigsaw puzzle. So this piece fits here and this one fits there. And sooner or later, this picture starts to form. And then you understand the greater story that they've been trying to share with you. Okay, so all connected. What's the connection with the birds and us? Well, like the trees, they are part of this ecosystem. They are part of the collective energy of the planet. So we are connected to them and they're watching us and interacting with us as we are with them. So I'm not quite sure what you mean if there's something deeper that you're going for, but yeah, there's definitely connection. We're connected to everything. Trees, rocks, the planet, everything has energy. So we can connect with it. Like nearby here, there's this place called Columcille. And it's like a mini version of Stonehenge. It's this park that this guy created. It's amazing. It's just like 40 minutes from my house. And I can go there and these big monolith rocks and I can touch them, connect with them, and I get information and energy from them. It's phenomenal. So if you're open to that and you're willing to experiment and kind of for a little bit to suspend your disbelief and just allow it to, it will communicate with you and you'll get more information. I know people who have had no training as animal communicators, but they have that innocence and that exploratory side of themselves where they just go and they think they can talk to the animals. And so they do. It's all about belief. And when you hear what you think is the bird answering you, for instance, in this case, believe it. Take it on faith that that really is what the bird said and go with it and see what happens. Because the more you do that, the more you trust and you take it and you act upon it, the more you'll get. It'll start flowing to you. That's just how it works. So storm cloud, if the lives are recorded past, present, future, how does free will fit? That's a great question. Yeah, a lot of people wonder about that. So the thing about the future in the Akashic records, it's probabilities. It hasn't happened yet in our version of reality. It's happened there, right? Because there's no time linearly like we experience it here in this third dimension. So it's all like stacked, all those layers, just like we as a multidimensional being are on all those planes at once. So for the future, there are probabilities lined up that we've set in motion and our guides have helped to set in motion. Before we incarnated, we set a lot of things up with our guides. And then since then, our guides have been picking up the slack and continuing on. And they're continually adjusting, putting things in place to help us connect with people, places, things, opportunities that we wanted to in this lifetime. But those are only probabilities. We can change our mind at any time. That's where the free will comes in. and they cannot interfere with our free will. No matter how much we might have begged them, you make sure I do this. If we change our mind in this lifetime, they have to respect that and take a step back. What they will do is they'll bring other opportunities to us to show us what's available, and then we get to choose. So we can totally change our mind at any time we want. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you need more about that. Betty Max, do we choose how and when we die as part of our pre-birth contract? Yeah, the way I understand it, Betty, is that there are multiple exit points from a lifetime. So as we approach an exit point, if we're ready to go, we can simply exit. But if things have changed and we'd rather hang out a little bit longer, we can do that. Like when I was in my early 20s, I was driving back from my grandma's house and I'd been up all night. I hadn't slept, which is not a good thing to do, but I was young and I fell asleep at the wheel. All of a sudden, I felt this hand on my shoulder and I heard this voice say, "My child, it's not yet your time." And I woke up with a start. I was headed at 70 miles an hour for a bunch of trees. I would have been dead, no question about it. But because Creator decided to intervene and wake me up at that moment, it was like, whoa, that was a whole kind of an awakening of sorts, although I was still very unconscious at that point in my life. But it left me with the overwhelming feeling that, Creator doesn't always intervene to save people when they're in a situation like that. So that meant there was something important that I hadn't yet accomplished. So it put me more on a track of looking for purpose than I had been ever before. So things like that will happen if it's not your exit point, but an accident or something happens. You can survive, you might be injured, or your guides and angels might intervene and save you. But yeah, so there's multiple exit points. I hope that makes sense. Joanna, you've been listening to the Law of One, Many Dimensions. I'm not familiar with that one, Joanna. There's a lot I don't know yet. I'm learning all the time. Just from reading that, I would feel that that's about that whole oneness that I mentioned in my newsletter, that as we have soul, higher self, and ego, the three aspects of ourself, part of our journey is coming to that place of oneness so that all three are working together rather than ego fighting against and poor higher self getting caught in the middle like this tug of war. So that's the oneness that we are moving towards, which will allow us to be more conscious, more empowered, more purposeful in what we're doing. So if it was something else, let me know. Give me some details so I can go on that. And Susan, you're feeling the endless connections through time and space. Yeah, because you are conscious, you're purposeful, you're spending time in the records. And just by energetically connecting and putting that time in the records, you are being shifted and changed very subtly. Sometimes you might feel it more powerfully than other times, but it's happening constantly because we're all moving towards that next phase of evolution and things are speeding up. So you're going to notice more of it. So for anybody who hasn't done much of this introspection and connecting with your records, know that now is the perfect time to get started, because we are going to jump into that whoosh of expansion, and it's going to be really hard to catch up if you haven't already been putting in some time. Although I expect most of you who are on this call probably have, because that's why you're here. You've already been doing the spiritual work. You're just wanting to fill in the gaps and get there faster. So being intentional, being here, connecting with each other, feeling our energy, sharing that energy, that's going to help with the whole thing. It's going to help you get there faster. Melinda, you're feeling it too. I'm so glad, because sweetheart, you need it. Oh, sending you so much love and energy. I know you got a tough row. Linda, you made it. So glad. Okay. The sound is good. I finally got to that message. Thank you for that. Okay. And then it just popped up on me again. So hang on. Where did it go? That is so annoying. I hope one of these days YouTube fixes that, because wow, such a time waster. And it pops it around like that. There we go. Okay. Joanna, sacred geometry healing sounds good. Yeah, a lot of people talk about sacred geometry, but I was never into math and science myself, so I don't really connect with the whole concept of sacred geometry and Metatron's cube. Those things don't resonate with me, but you know what? It's really cool. It's okay. I don't need those things to connect with the records. We all connect in the way that feels best and works best for us. So if you've got an interest in sacred geometry, then oh yeah, go for it. Dive into it. In fact, send me an email. I will connect you with a lady I know who I met in one of my Akashic Records courses who's really into sacred geometry. And she has downloaded this whole modality about crystalline consciousness, which I think is just another way of talking about what I'm talking about. I just use simpler words because I'm not into all those big things. So yeah, her name is Gia. So remind me and I'll connect you with her because her stuff is fascinating. You'd probably really like it. And Harry's mom, you love Abraham, don't you? Isn't Abraham just amazing? I really enjoy Abraham, especially the animated ones. Those are just awesome. I would love to have somebody do animateds for me. That would be so much fun. And it adds that element of fun that the guides are always talking about. So it's so perfect. I love that. Storm Clouds, you had carpal tunnel and arnica was the thing you needed. Yeah, I did arnica. I also did rust tox because rust tox, they call it the rusty hinge. It's all about inflammation in the joints. And it's just so wonderful. It's great for things like arthritis and other joint issues. So yeah, I like to use them together because it gives you more of an oomph. Is it wrong to ask the guides for a 3D sign that things are real and not from the mind? Not at all. That's from AD. Not at all. You ask for anything you want. They always say you can't ask for too much. They don't care how insignificant you think it is. If it's important to ask, they will step up and help you with it. So, yeah. And sure, if you get something that's really weird, you can say, did you really send that message to me or am I making that up? And they'll share it with you. But usually, if you noticed it, and it made enough of an impression on you to wonder whether it was your guides, it probably really was. So most of the time, if you err on the side of it being your guides, you're going to be right. And so what if you're wrong? You'll figure it out soon enough. And you do that often enough, you'll start to feel energetically the difference between the two. And you'll get it right more often than you get it wrong. But there's nothing wrong with getting things wrong. That's how we learn. So don't be so hard on yourself with those things. Just go with the flow, accept what comes, take it, act upon it, take the enlightenment, the teachings, move forward with it and see what happens, because that's how you get into the flow and life gets so much better then. Oh, Harry's mom, you were expecting to see a big book. I love that you said that because a lot of people are. They think I go into meditation and I'm going to see this big book. I'm going to open it and read it, and that will be my records. Well, maybe some people get it that way. It never worked that way for me. And I don't think it does for most people because think about how your brain works. How hard would it be to imagine seeing a book with writing when you don't have a clue what might be written there? Then you really are having to reach. So the guides have made it really easy on us. Instead of having a book that we see, they will bring us all kinds of metaphors, symbols, things that we can relate to. That's why in so many of my journeys in the Akasha, I'll get like a Disney movie because it's filled with all these symbols that I can then go look up if I don't know what they mean and get more information. So allow it to be that way. If you have it fixed in your head that you have to see a book, then you're going to block yourself. That is one of the reasons people have trouble accessing the records because they have this preconceived notion, like tunnel vision, about what it, quote, should be. Let go of all the shoulds. Allow it to be whatever it is. One time I had an adventure where I went and I met the Wizard of Oz. He came down in a hot air balloon and he had the Cowardly Lion with him. And he came to bring me the mantle of light. He was explaining to me that because of the work I had done, I was ready for an upgrade. And he installed this invisible mantle of light on me, which I totally don't understand at this point. I got a little bit of it, but I think there's more I'll get somewhere down the line when I'm ready for it. But it was a most amazing adventure. And by that time, of course, I was trusting the stories that I was getting. But had I not been that far along, I might have thought I was a little bit batty, making up stories about the Wizard of Oz. But they'll use whatever familiarities that they can to connect with you. And so that's something that I was familiar with. I could put the pieces together and understand it. And then I could Google to get anything else that I needed if it wasn't clear, to get more of the symbology. So yeah, it can really be magical and fun like that. One time I went on an adventure and I was with a Cyclops. Together, we went to see the Dalai Lama on top of this little mountain in this little tiny cabin. He served us tea. We sat on the floor together, cross-legged, and had tea. And he shared a message with us about how things were going to start whipping up really soon. And it was almost like a cyclone. Speaking of Wizard of Oz, right? And so this energy was really swirling, and he was letting us know that that was ahead of us. And again, I didn't totally understand everything that came. I'm sure another time in the future, when I go back and read that, I'm going to get more from those messages, which is why I tell you guys, write all this stuff down, because you'll get layers of the message then. And when you go back and look at it with your new expanded consciousness and vision later, you'll get more. There's always layers. So when I do a soul introduction reading for somebody, it's massive, all the information that comes in about your soul and how you're wired and how the three aspects fit together, and all of these things that connect to help you with your soul purpose, as well as, of course, the past life stuff. So you get all that, but it's a massive download of information. You're only going to get a small part of it in the beginning. You have to go back, revisit it, read it again, connect the dots with where you are today, because your consciousness will have expanded. So you will see it, hear it, and intake the whole thing at a whole different level of frequency, and you'll get more out of it. So we just keep doing that in cycles. That's how come we never get it done, because we'll get one layer of it, and then we're going to zoom right back around and go at a higher level, the next layer, and we're going to get more and more insights and information. And it just keeps going like that. It's exciting and marvelous all at the same time. Okay. Melinda, you forgot no personals. That's okay. No problem. You're used to doing that with me, so it's a perfectly understandable thing. I just don't want to take our time and go off track with the personals tonight, but we will definitely be doing them on June the 19th. So you join me then. We'll go through them all. Susan wants to know, do I teach the records to the public? I do have some courses that I teach. I haven't offered them in a long time, so it's probably about time that I think about doing that again. I've just been putting so much time and effort into the channeling and the doing all the YouTube videos. Oh my gosh, you guys, you have no idea how long it takes to do these videos. So that's been taking up a lot of my time. And it's important because, I've been tasked with getting this message out to as many people as I can, as fast as I can. And after everything I've tried, I think YouTube is the fastest way to do that, aside from books. So I need to get more books out there too. So it's like juggling all of these things and trying to be patient with myself and still have a life at the same time. So yeah, it's all coming, but I will look at the calendar and look at the courses and see what I can figure out for coming up. But first I have to do that 21-day meditation with you guys, because it is so impactful, you guys. I can't even describe to you how powerful that was. And I meditate a lot. Not every single day, not, what you might think that I do, but more than the average person. And even so, it was so amazingly impactful, all the things that came through in those 21 days. So I'm really excited to share that with you. I've just got to find a way to shoehorn it in and get it done. And probably there's an element there of not being so perfect about it and finding that space of good enough, which I know a lot of you can relate to. So, Louise, have you experienced something impactful while reading the records for someone? All the time, Louise. When I do soul introductions, we're connecting soul to soul. And so it's like I'm right there with them. I'm experiencing that marvel of meeting their soul, of seeing themselves through the eyes of Creator. And it's like nothing you can even imagine. Oh, it's just so phenomenal. And then we're still learning more things about ourselves all the time. So yeah, when I go into records, if I do past life things, oh my gosh, some of the things that come through are just, some are dark and deep because, they're coming up for a reason. They need to be resolved. And some are just really amazing. For myself, I've gotten all of these stories that they'll pop in from time to time. Some are like really deep, impactful, that actually were kind of painful to go back and relive some of those things. And others are exciting and uplifting. Because I was raised in a Christian environment, Jesus shows up a lot for me. Not as much once I learned that Jesus and Metatron are the same soul. So more often it's Metatron now, but yeah, I mean, super impactful. It's hard to describe how impactful. I don't think I can do it justice with words. It's something you just got to feel. And that's why I'm always talking about this and encouraging you guys to get in there and meditate, connect with your guides, allow that expansion to happen sooner so that you can experience it for yourself, because there's nothing like experiencing it for yourself. And you will, if it's your intention and your desire, and you put in some practice time, every single one of you. So, Melinda, you're getting pictures and you think that more is being revealed than you realized. Yeah, absolutely. So find a way to record that, Melinda. And as you look at it, and you just kind of do it from a kind of an outside yourself perspective, just really objective, don't judge it, just accept it. See if you get more insights when you do that, because sometimes you will. And then if there is any kind of symbology in there, then go Google it and find out what it's all about, because there's usually a deeper message. What I found is that the guides are so amazingly gifted at weaving a story for you with all these symbols and familiar things to help you understand it. And then they usually will cap it off with a verbal message. And it always blows my mind how that ties the whole thing up with a bow. Somehow they brought it around. Everything they showed you with the symbols and the metaphors is perfectly encapsulated in the message, and it just all expands upon itself. It's a marvel. And, that's why they are who they are, because they have that ability. Oh, Oil Painter, thank you so much. Don't forget to hit the like button, everybody, because, yeah, we need those likes to get Facebook or YouTube rather to share us with more people. It's super, super important. I really appreciate that. I forget about those things, so it helps when you remember. Mr. Fide or Feed, something like that. I hope I'm not butchering your name. You feel like you have energy emanating from you. You figure it's your imagination. How can you tell the difference? No, if you feel it, trust and believe that it's real. Then the question is why? What's happening when you feel that? What's it connected to? Is it a feeling like you're supposed to share the energy with somebody? Or is it a feeling like maybe your guide's just trying to connect with you and that's the easiest way for them to do it? So delve into that a little bit, feel what it's about. And if you can't figure it out, come and join us on the 19th and I can ask your guides for you, because we don't want to leave that hanging. That's a really important thing. I don't know if you do energy work, but it could be that maybe it's an encouragement to get into energy work. So there's a lot of possibilities there, and it's definitely worth exploring, finding out what it's all about so that you can lean into it some more. Oh, cool about the rocks. Yeah, Susan. I didn't always know that. I took this animal communication course with this lady who was just so amazing. And she was telling us stories about how rocks can sing to you. Somebody in the course brought a rock that had come from this recent excavation. So this rock had never seen the light of day. And when the rock came out and was given to this woman and she held it up, she got this big grin on her face and she said, "It's singing to me." And that was years ago, so I didn't really understand as much as I do now. And I was trying to figure out, is it literally singing a song? Is it humming? What is it doing? So I asked her the question, because I'm always the inquisitive one asking the questions. And she said, yeah, it's more like a hum. So she was feeling that energetic resonance from it. So that energy hum. Because, if you've heard about the Schumann resonance, that's the hum that comes from Earth. It's a certain vibrational frequency that can be measured and heard. And it is rising, which is really cool, because that validates so much of what we've heard from the guides about how Earth is shifting her frequency as well, rising along with us. We're all in this big shift together. So yeah, and that's a great example of not understanding and limiting what you think it might be, because if I hadn't asked her the question, I might have thought the rock was literally singing to her. And then when I tried to listen to or connect with other rocks, I might have been disappointed that I didn't hear any songs. But instead, because I asked the question, which I'm encouraging you guys to do, I learned that it was more like a hum. And so when I connect with those rocks at Columcille, I put my hands on them, I put my face against them, and I just kind of merge with them a little bit energetically, and I can feel a vibration. And yeah, it feels like I'm making it up. Absolutely. In fact, one time I was there, they were doing whatever that holiday is that they call no time. I forget what the official name of it is, but we were in this ceremony. I saw fairies dancing around the center of the circle that we were in. And had that been a few years before, I would have dismissed it as my imagination. Now I know it's not. The fairies, the elementals were joining with us in that no time celebration. And I just got really lucky and happened to see that little glimpse of them dancing. It was so joyful. They were celebrating. In fact, it was funny because they were dancing around the circle. Somebody had moved something that obstructed their circle. So they had to kind of go up and around, and they were not happy. They were kind of cussing about it and, grumbling that we had inadvertently made their celebration a little bit harder. So it was funny, it was delightful all at the same time, and magical. Okay, yes, on the animals from Susan also. Okay, I think I got back to where I was. Cece Crystal Moon Mage, glad to see you. Delighted you could be here. Melinda, you watched a video on the man that did this by himself. Oh, sorry, Melinda. At this point, I don't know what it was he did because we've gone past, but you can let me know if it's something you want to elaborate on. And oil painter, it's totally up to us to decide and follow through. Yeah, free choice. That's what it means. Your guides will never interfere with your free choice. They will present rather opportunities, potentialities for you. It's up to you to choose the one you like the best and go with it. So the way you know the best is to feel it through your solar plexus. That is your built-in compass that Creator gave you. Because we were originally designed to feel our way through life. When we started thinking our way through life, that's when ego got in the way and kind of took us off track. So the more we get back into that resonance and feeling our way through things, the better choices we will make, the more we will flow, and the easier life will be, which of course is going to help us all as we move into this great shift, because we need more of us in the flow, connecting with that energy so that we can facilitate getting there faster. And I know the energy on that is really getting stirred up and getting more powerful because Metatron keeps talking about it over and over and over like a broken record. So it's upping the ante to get our attention. So it's like for all of us, if we can go out and share that with other people, anybody you feel led to share it with, tell them about it, get them on board, because maybe they just haven't heard about it yet. The faster we get them on board, the faster we get through that dark period, that struggle that we've been in, and move into the golden age of Earthtopia, which is super, super exciting. And the thing about it is, I couldn't tell you whether that's going to be 2 years or 50 years. I don't know, because it depends on us. It depends on how many of us come together, how quickly to facilitate it happening. So that's what we're in the midst of now, which is why it's so important. And I keep asking for your help because I can't do it alone. We all have to do this together. And yeah, there are other people out there doing it too. I realize I'm not alone, but yeah, so I'm just letting you know we are all in this together. And the faster we get together and shift that energy, the faster we will move into Earthtopia. And I don't know about you, but I'd like to still be alive to see it. So it would be really lovely if that could happen. So Stormcloud, you find it understandable and you had a feeling about it. Awesome. I'm so glad. Yeah. We all need that validation. So, but the cool thing about that storm cloud is that you were feeling it, you were connected to it. And the validation is super important because, and write that down, by the way, the more times you get a validation about something you thought or felt, and you write that down, now you've got your scorecard of all the times you were right. So when you get into one of those down in the dumps days where you think, oh my gosh, I'm not making any progress, I suck at this, it's never going to open up for me, then you go back and you look at that journal of all the wins that you had where you actually were connected. That'll lift you right back up again, because you can't argue with results. But if you don't record the results, then you're going to get to one of those days and you won't remember all those lovely wins when you were so connected, and it'll be harder to get out of the dumps. So the faster you get out of the dumps, the faster you get back on track again, and you're in the flow, and then more of these wonderful things will happen in your life. Your grandfather said that when you were 10. Now that is so cool. So your grandfather was probably gifted as well. I love that. That's so magical. Melinda, it's happened with you 2 times in your life while driving. So I'm presuming you mean that thing about falling asleep and almost dying? Oh, please be careful. Ask your guides to keep you awake or pull over, or, whatever you got to do, but keep you safe, because we need you here, Melinda. You have important work to do. Betty, you are so welcome. Linda, are ancient languages real? I've seen people talk to each other in these languages and they understand each other. Any thoughts? Well, yeah, we know third dimensionally the ancient languages are real. So you're probably talking about more like the soul language or the light language that people talk about. I actually took that question to Metatron a while back. So there is a video on that where I ask Metatron to please explain to me this light language, because it didn't make any sense to me. It sounded to me a lot like the people who speak in tongues at some of the Pentecostal churches. And as far as I know, most of them don't know what they're saying. They're just babbling gibberish that they could be making it up for all we know. I don't know. I try not to be judgmental, but I was a little judgmental, I confess. So Metatron explained to me that it doesn't matter if they understand it. What matters is how they feel about it. So if it feels good and uplifting to them, then it's great. They should keep doing it. Do we need to care if they understand it? No, it's not important for us. If we need to at some point in time, we will get there and we will understand it. But if you're like me and it just is incongruent to you, at least right now, ignore it. You don't have to worry about it. But for those who are into it and it's meaningful to them, makes them feel good, uplifted, great. We just allow, accept, be an appreciation for they are differently gifted than we are. Or if you are experiencing it yourself, then just know that it's awesome. Lean into it, do more of it, because it's there for a reason. And it doesn't matter if you understand it or not. Although I've been told that as you flow into it more and your frequency rises, there will come a time where you will understand it if you don't already. So I just made a lot of assumptions there, Linda. I hope I covered the basis for you. Harry's mom, you were saved twice from serious injury or death by avoiding car accidents, a voice telling you to get over in the other lane, and being told to turn down a street. I love that. See, you are so connected, way more than you realize. And what a gift that is, because when you think about it, as I said earlier, how many times does that happen for somebody and they don't hear the voice and they die? Obviously, there's more for you to do. You needed to stay. And so your guides had your back and they helped you. And that's beautiful. And that's a great story to share with people, because, as we tell these stories, you'll probably find, just like happened right here in the comments, so far I've seen 2 other people who said they've had the same experience. I'll bet you there's hundreds, maybe even thousands who have. But if we don't talk about it, we don't know. And then we think it's just us and it's just something weird and, whatever we think about it. But yeah, there's so much of this kind of stuff that we might realize about ourselves, and we just think it's our own idiosyncrasy, and we don't realize it's part of what makes us special. It's part of how our soul is wired, and we're actually intended to use it. And then when we share it with people, we find out that, wow, there are other people out there who have similar things, similar gifts. It's important to know this. So that's why we need to be talking to each other more, and that's why we're all here tonight. So I love that you all showed up so that we could talk about it. Awesome. Starfish, you're late. Don't worry about that. It's recorded. You can get whatever you missed. No problem. And, get your question in there if you got one. Oil painter Raphael connects to you continuously, from shapes to sounds to aromas. I love that. That's so beautiful. I have a gentleman in my inner circle, and he connects to Angel Raphael a lot. In fact, his website is called Angel Raphael Speaks. He's channeled a lot from Raphael. And the interesting thing is, early on when I started doing this, I used to get Raphael, Michael, Gabriel, and sometimes Uriel would come to me. So, they were working with what I was willing to believe, and I was more open to archangels than perhaps other things that I've gotten since. So that's how they connected with me. The funny thing, Raphael always showed up as the smart aleck, wisecracking angel. And I always wondered, is that just me? Or is Raphael really like that? And I was going to this metaphysical group and happened to be talking to another lady there who also had that same experience with Raphael. So it's like, oh, cool. Now I got validation that Raphael really does show up to people with that wisecracking persona. And it's not to be disrespectful in case you haven't experienced it yourself, or maybe you're taken aback to hear that. Rather, it's about getting us to lighten up and not be so serious so that we can slip into that energy of fun, excitement, joy. And then we will connect more with our guides. We will get more information because it shifts our energy. That's why it's so important. It's not like they're harping on us about going out and playing on the playground and having more fun for no reason. It's all very purposeful. We know that. And that's the reason, because we need to shift our energy so that we are more open and receiving, connecting at a deeper level. So share that with more people. Get them to go out and play, and you'll be amazed at the things that come out. So Starfish left a message for Melinda on Facebook, in case you didn't see that, Melinda. And AD says Wegmans has a great wrist brace for carpal tunnel. And then there's a more flexible one for the computer that helped a lot with the pain. Awesome. Yeah, I had something like that too. In fact, I bought a lot of things. I bought the glove that you put on your hand. I had the wrist braces. Ultimately, I was just abusing my body, because when I first got carpal tunnel, I was doing word processing, and I got so much work that it was like killing myself. I had ice packs on my arms so I could keep working, which is crazy, right? But it was a different time, and different place and energy and all of that stuff, and it was what I needed to do. So then I was left with these really painful arms that were horrible. And thank goodness my guides, even though I didn't know it, led me to energy work like EFT and then to homeopathics. So I was able to fix it without having surgery, because I'll tell you, I'm prejudiced about this. I feel like once they cut, it's never the same again. And there's no reason we can't find natural ways of fixing things. But that's my belief, not to put that on you. So I told the doctor to stuff it. No way was I doing surgery. And she said, okay, go suffer then. And gave me this massive bottle of pain pills. And that's how I was supposed to live the rest of my life. So that didn't work. And I'm thankful that that actually led me to more of this kind of work, because I had to advocate for myself and find other ways of healing. So, like I said earlier, I don't know, you might have missed it. It's pretty much healed because I had it in both arms. And once in a while, if I really, really overdo, I'll get a little of it, but I know what to do to fix it. So, yeah, it's not really a big deal for me anymore. And I'm pretty strong because I'm, tossing 40 to 60 pound bales of hay around for the horses. And, when I go get a load of 100 bales, I have to load them all myself. Then I have to come home and unload them all and then stack them all. So, yeah, I'm doing okay in that department. Okay, it jumped on me, so give me a second to catch it. Hope you guys are having a good time. I sure am. I love connecting with you like this and getting to know you a little better. Almost there. Oh, I see. Stormcloud, you said I was doing well. Thank you. I appreciate that. I do miss seeing you on the Zoom, but I thought we'd try it this way for a change. And one of the reasons actually for doing this is because I think YouTube brings more traffic to live streams. So I probably will do more of these, especially if amazing people like you show up like this and we can have a good time. So we'll probably do some more of that. Susan, The Wizard of Oz is filled with metaphor and amazing. The three guides on the road, you had it all along. Yeah, yeah. And I get that a lot in messages. It's like we all had it all along. We just didn't know it. We have so much inside of us. And of course, our multidimensional self knows about it. It's just this third dimensional self that's lost connection with it. But we're getting there. We're connecting with more and more and realizing how truly magical we are. And we've only just gotten a little bit of it. There's so much more coming. Okay. So there's conversation going on. That's really cool. I love it when you guys do that. That's awesome. So Susan, you say there's an uptake in interest in the records more than before. When you were first trained and talked about it, you got weird looks. Yeah, I know the feeling. Me too. In fact, that's why I wrote my book, Akasha Unleashed, the Missing Manual to You, because the more I worked in the records, and came to the understanding that it really was our user manual. Everything you need to know about yourself is in there, past, present, and future. And if we'd only had access to this user manual, how different might our lives be? How much faster might we accelerate our spiritual growth? And yet, when I talk to people, I got so many of those stares like, huh, what are you talking about? So the book was inspired to get out there and let people know, hey, you've got this resource. It's free, it's yours. If you're not using it, you're cheating yourself. So, that's a big part of what I've been doing ever since and continue to do, because as I said earlier, the more of us that get on board with this, understand it, and start using it, the faster we're going to get to Earthtopia. And I'm really looking forward to that. Sooner the better. Oh, Betty, on Easter Sunday, a voice said Merry Christmas to you. That is hysterical. That's your guides being funny. And hallelujah that you heard them, right? I don't know if you get that regularly, but that's really, really awesome. So, yeah, lean into that. Stand in appreciation for it, and you'll get more, because that's the way it works. When we acknowledge and appreciate, they bring more. Oil painters, Schumann resonance. You hear it constantly. You can relate to the hum of the crystals, the rocks, the sticks, the trees, limbs. All that is so beautiful. I love that. Now, just know, oil painter, there is one soul group that is very connected to the earth, and they feel those things. So it might be you're part of that group. And yeah, so lean into that, because you're getting it for a reason. You can be more connected so you can teach others to do it, because we can all do it, but we have to get over our disbelief and, criticism that we're just making things up. So you can be the witness about how marvelous it is, and the insights that you get when you connect on that level. Because, heck, for years, people have been talking to their plants and swearing it makes them grow. So that's just an extension of it. Those people were just connected sooner. In fact, there's this guy on Facebook, you guys, if you haven't seen him yet, his name is Gary Cook. He's from New Zealand. He hooks up this mechanical thing to trees and plants, and he records the songs they're singing. Mind-blowing, beautiful. The other day, he did a video where he hooked up, I think it was a tree. He had the tree hooked up with one sensor and the other sensor on him, and they were making music together. Phenomenal. So just on Facebook, go look for Gary Cook. He's an older gentleman, white beard and hair, and just follow him, because he's amazing, marvelous, magical, and everybody needs to know about this guy, because what he's bringing is so amazing, and he's very connected to the elementals as well. So those of you who are, Susan, I know, he has this big forest at this place he calls Riverhaven, and I don't know if that's just the name of his property or if it's the land in that area, but it's magical and marvelous, and you definitely want to connect with Gary. He's just a beautiful soul. Oil painter, you're a 4-year-old at heart, and you got pockets and dashboard filled with rocks and sticks, probably. Yeah, I can relate. I pick up rocks pretty much everywhere I go. There's just something about them that's magical. But you know what? That was before we bought this farm on top of a mountain in the Poconos, where if you go to dig a fence post hole, all that comes up is rocks, very little dirt. At that point, I kind of got over my thing about rocks just a little bit, because there's lots of them. It's just amazing. But yeah, rocks are really cool. And they have stories to tell too, if we just listen. Melinda, by himself was the way he formed the huge rocks that would be impossible to make without equipment. You're talking about creator, I think? Yeah. Yeah, it's a marvel, how all these things were thought up so that we could enjoy them and expand with them, communicate with them when we were finally awake enough to do so. Yeah. Facundo Casano, you're new. What's this about? So I hope you got the gist of it by now, but just to give you a reset the room, as they say on Clubhouse. So I'm the voice of the Akashic Records, and I connect with the records. I do readings for people. I also channel Archangel Metatron along with the other guides of the Akasha, and sometimes Creator, him, her, themself, comes forward with a message occasionally. So tonight we're on this live stream to connect, for people to ask questions about some of the videos I've posted with some of the spiritual teaching, and just really to have a good time, get to know each other. So that's what it's all about. I'm not taking personal questions on this particular live stream. We will do that on June the 19th in my other group. So you can sign up for that by going to akashaunleashed.com/VIP, and then you'll get a Zoom link to join us on the live on Zoom, where we do ask personal questions. But hopefully that explains it and you got the gist of what we're doing here. Kelly McNeese Hepworth, glad to see you here, Kelly. It's been a while. Stormcloud, you're fairly new. Oh, and you haven't seen the Earthtopia. I think I might have given you the link to that in the comment earlier, unless I have you confused with somebody else. But when you go to my YouTube channel, you will find a playlist of messages from Archangel Metatron. Earthtopia is one of those. Earthtopia actually started with a message from the divine feminine consciousness that just came out of nowhere. I had never gotten that connection before. And it was kind of startling because they came through with this very militant energy. You know, we're sick of the way you guys have screwed this thing up, and we're going to fix it. And this is what it's going to be. And it's going to be Earthtopia. It's going to be, you know, where the planet is taken care of and people are taken care of. We don't have homeless and hungry and children who don't get the proper education or other things that they need. So it was the divine feminine saying, you know, step out of the way. We're going to fix this and clean things up. It was really an amazing, powerful message that a lot of people resonated with. I'm delighted about that. But it was a big surprise to me. And then since then, Metatron has mentioned Earthtopia, and I think the guides have mentioned it too a few times. So it's like they're taking the thread of that story and expanding upon it for us. And Earthtopia is the new golden age of humanity that we're moving to as the lightworkers come together to push away the darkness, to step back into the light, and we all raise our vibrational frequency to that new level of our evolution. So it's huge, but we don't know how long it's going to take. We just know it's happening right now. It's underway, and the sooner we get together, work together, step more into our powers and our understanding, the faster it will come. So that's what Earthtopia is about. I hope you like it. It's a pretty powerful message. Starfish light language is real. It speaks to the soul. We don't need to understand. Yeah, that's pretty much what Metatron told me. In fact, I felt a little chastised because there I was, you know, my, what would you say, cynical self about what this stuff is all about, because it didn't resonate with me. It's like, what the heck is that stuff? So Metatron just let me know I needed to take it down a peg and accept and realize that not everybody does it the same way. And it's perfectly fine and beautiful and serves a purpose for those people who are congruent with it. And that's the really cool thing. You know, we're all wired differently. Not everything is going to be congruent with everybody. And so it's about finding those things that are congruent with your soul, leaning into them, doing more of that, expanding upon that body of wisdom and sharing it with the world. So it's wonderful. We've been given permission to be our unique selves. How cool is that? Oh, and starfish, the more they do it, they eventually understand. Yeah, that's pretty much what Metatron said too, that at some point their vibrational frequency would rise enough and they would understand it. And since then, I have met a couple people who say they do understand it. They can translate it, which is pretty cool. Starfish, no soul leaves the earth before it's their time. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I've been taught. So we might have multiple exit points, but we're not going to leave until we come to one of those and we say, yeah, now is the time I want to go. So even if you, that's what those near-death experiences are all about. Something happens and they, you know, the body goes through something that nearly takes it out, but their soul's not ready yet, so they're not going. And this whole pandemic we've been going through, the souls that are leaving in droves are the ones who were ready to go. It's just the virus was a convenient way for them to do that in mass. And those are the souls who chose not to be here for this big evolution that we're going through, the great shift. They didn't want to be a part of it, and no judgment about that either. It's their choice, right? Just like those of us who did choose to be here knew that, accepted the challenge, knew it was going to be a big, you know, trip and Not an easy thing to get through, but we said, yeah, we want to be part of that because it's a massive opportunity for expansion. And that's why we need everybody to come forward so we can get this thing going. Oil painter, when it comes to the car warnings, oh, and you just popped. Oh, come back, come back. Oh my gosh, where did it go? There you are. When it comes to the car warnings, can't tell you how many times Jesus takes the wheel. Yeah, absolutely. And the wonderful thing about that is if you ask for more, you'll get more. If you allow it, it'll expand. You know, it's only when we turn away from it and don't believe it, eschew it, that we don't get it. Because we get to choose whether we want it or not, too. You know, they're not going to interfere with us. Linda, a new friend was just activated and she doesn't understand, but she's babbling and this will help her. Awesome. Yeah, you see if you can find that video. And if you can't, email me, but it's something Metatron light language in the title. So you should be able to find that and share it with her because Metatron was quite definitive in the answer about that one. Ernesto, hi. So glad you're here. Detective Hood, my opinion about flat earth people. You know, Metatron got on me about this one too, because it's the same thing. We all get to choose our own reality. We're creating our own reality. You know, I know a lot of you are progressive people, shall I say, and probably Democrats, right? So a while back, I had one of my channeled sessions, and I tell people you can ask anything you want. There's no limitation. So this lady came on and she wanted to know, is Trump a good president? And I'm like inside going, oh my God, I don't want to answer that question. But in all integrity, I had said you could ask anything. So I sucked it up and I asked her guides, because it's not my guides, it's her guides. And they said, yeah, if that's her reality, then that's true. He is a good president. I don't have to believe that, but it's true for her. And it's not up to me to take that reality away from her. So after that, I had to do a lot of soul searching because I really felt awful. It felt yucky, all that dark energy. Autumn's been talking about that a lot, all that dark energy. And it's like, I don't want to be part of that. And so I finally came to the realization that I could give myself permission to say, okay, I'm not going to answer that question because I don't have to be a slave to my gift. It's my choice when and where I use it. So even though I had said, yes, you can come and ask anything, if there was something that felt that bad for me to channel, then it was okay for me to say no. So that was really an interesting experience. And I'm grateful to that woman for bringing it to the table. So I got to have that little growth experience. But as far as the flat earth people, so right along with that, if that's their reality, then it's true. You and I can look at the earth from space, the pictures we've seen anyway, and say, no way, no how. And when you fly, you can see that it's not flat. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. But to these people, it's real for whatever reason. And I don't know why. That might be a good question to ask of the guides. Why? Why do they believe that? Is it perhaps what I'm feeling right now as I think about that? It's probably that they're at a lower vibrational frequency and they haven't expanded into the place where they can accept those kinds of truths. They're only going with the concrete that they can see. And for some of them, it's also about kind of turning their brains off and not really doing a lot of thinking. They're just existing. They're letting other people tell them what's truth and they're going along with it. And in fact, that's what QAnon's been all about. These people who don't want to take responsibility for learning and thinking on their own. And to be honest, this is my opinion, that came from religion, programming people for years and years and years. You don't need to read your Bible and figure things out for yourself. We'll tell you what it's all about. And you follow along like good little sheep and do what we tell you to, which didn't help any of us to grow. It kept us under their control and stymied. So it's all kind of bundled into that. I hope that makes sense. A little bit of a ramble there. Sorry. Oil painter. Thanks for the Raphael channel. And he smokes cigarettes. Raphael smokes cigarettes for you. That's funny. Okay. Yeah, they will do whatever it takes to get through to us. And it's just about being grateful for it, because there's a reason. They don't do anything frivolously. It's all very purposeful, whatever it takes to make that connection. Stormcloud, you loved the Catholic Mass in Latin and felt very connected to spirit. But once it became English, the mystical experience was gone. It was never the same. Yeah, I've met a lot of Catholics who felt the same way. It's just, it was more sacred, I suppose, taking it out of the realm of the commonplace. Starfish, you're talking to Linda there. Light language people on Facebook, check it out. Okay, cool. Stormcloud, you feel the same way about the medical system and you use the homeopath and inner doctor. Oh, yay for you. It's so much more empowering. And I came to this realization just because the medical system let me down so many times. When I was 17, I was on the pill and I got pregnant. Anyway, being on the pill, which happens, right? That's why it's not 100%. So I'm a 17-year-old girl, and I start having all of this digestive upset. I go to the doctor to find out why, because I'm on the pill. I'd never suspected I was pregnant, and I was still having cycles, which I guess the pill made happen. So this is a long story, but I'll keep it as short as I can. Anyway, so my doctor thought I had an ulcer, sent me to the hospital to have all of these upper GI x-rays. Now, come on, if you're a doctor with any sense in your head, a 17-year-old girl with those symptoms, wouldn't you first at least do a pregnancy test? He didn't. Instead, he put me through all those x-rays, which could have damaged my child. Thank God it didn't. He came out normal, although he was too big and he had to be pried out. But other than that, so it's like, okay, one strike against the medical system. And then later on, I got Meniere's disease. And it was a pretty severe case. I had one surgery where they put in a stent to drain the fluid, because it's excess fluid that makes you, dizzy and the room spinning kind of thing. I was disabled. It was so bad I couldn't work. I couldn't see my kids because, I was divorced at that point, and I had to, go back and forth. Couldn't do that because I couldn't drive. I was dizzy all the time. Then I had, I went through several months of recovery from that surgery. It happened again. And essentially the doctor said to me, you just have to live with it. And it's like, seriously, I have to live with this? You have nothing else to offer me. Well, now I know there's plenty to be offered. I've found my own remedies for it now. I had a second surgery. They did brain surgery. They snipped the nerve that controls your balance so that presumably I wouldn't have any more of these dizzy attacks, which helped for a while, but not permanent. I still had attacks occasionally. Since then, I found homeopathic remedies that I take those as soon as I feel the room start to go, and it stops it. But those doctors were not open to those things. In fact, they would argue with you about the symptoms. I used to pass out when I would have one of those attacks because they were so severe. So I think it was my body's way of protecting me by just shutting down. And after I came to, the attack would be pretty much over. So that made sense to me. The doctor said, no, not one of the symptoms. Okay. I got the same thing with my kids when they were babies. They'd get a vaccination and they'd have a really bad reaction. The doctor told me I wasn't seeing what I was seeing. So over and over, medical system let me down. And I finally got to the point where it's like, screw it. I'll figure these things out for myself. And thank goodness we have the internet today so that we can do that. Because the Meniere's was back in the 80s. We didn't have the internet yet. And there would have been no way for me to find all of these things. So that's a marvel that I'm eternally grateful for. Okay, back off of that tangent. Nina, thank you. Thank you for being here, Nina. I really appreciate it. Kelly, you're thrilled to have had back surgery. There was nothing else that could remove the pain. With it, you wouldn't be able to walk or move. Yeah, and I'm so glad you were able to do that. I wouldn't choose it for myself, but if that's what helped you, then, oh, yeah, bless those doctors that helped you. I've just had too many experiences where they didn't help. And so, we walk a different path and it's perfect for each of us. Linda, you had terrible carpal tunnel on both hands. The chiropractor said it's upper arms spinal, got rid of it and never came back. That's awesome. I never did chiropractor, but that might have helped had I tried. I don't know. I'm just glad we both found solutions. Starfish, you like the teachings. I'm so glad. Yeah, keep coming back because there's so much more. This message I just channeled earlier that I'm going to be sharing, as I said, in the next day or two. I've decided I'm going to do once a month at the beginning of the month message. And so that's what this is. And I was surprised at what came through. It was different than I was expecting, but the whole thing is you come in and you take what you get, because they share what you need to know and what everybody else needs to know. And we take that on faith and run with it. Oil painter, it was a surprise and needed. I'm so glad. Yeah, we need so much more of this. So we probably will be doing more of this. Yeah. And if you let me know, I will definitely find a way to do more. Donna, so glad you made it. I'm sorry. That tech thing happened again at the beginning, and it would not let me go live onto the stream that I created. So I don't know what that's about. I have to figure that out before I do this again. But thankfully you're here. So glad. And you have the little blue wrench by your name. So that's cool. Starfish, an angel named Dr. Peebles told you in a channeling that you would be reading the Akashic Records. That's awesome, Starfish. So when are you going to start? Because if you're feeling led to it, then it's for you. You're being called. And truly, we are all being called because they're our records. They reach out to us. Back in the 80s, I was in therapy, and I had this really amazing therapist who I learned later was Native American. So she was using some things that I wasn't aware of, but I was so unconscious, you guys. I didn't know up from down. She took me through this guided visualization. And the way she did it, she would just have me relax and then start telling her what I see. That was the precursor to what I'm doing in the records, but I had no clue. And in one of those sessions, I swam underwater with a dolphin. I came up in this cavern inside a cavern with a lake. There was a whale there, hung out with the whale. Then I got out of the water and I walked up these rock steps. They were carved into the side of the wall, going up this platform. At the top of the platform was a podium. On the podium was the Book of Life, which are the Akashic Records. Amazing. The Akashic Records were calling out to me even back then, but I had no clue. Looking back, of course, I can see all those synchronicities and how my guides brought me step by step here. All these things work together. And if you do the same with your life, once you get into this more awakened state and you look back, you can see, wow, they did this, they did this, they did that. All of those things put together is what brought you to where you are today. And holy cow, there's so much more to come. It just gets better and better. Donna, you had a computer glitch. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. And you can comment from the phone now. Awesome. Okay. Joanna, soul contracts are completed. Do we ever know or feel it's so? It depends on how tuned in you are, Johanna. And the other thing about contracts is that they're an outmoded modality. That's what I've been taught. Now, you may hear something different from other people, but I can only tell you what I know. So today, when we find contracts that are connecting people, they actually act as an energetic drain on the parties. So we dissolve them because mostly it's soul contracts that show up, but you don't need that contract to connect with another person. If your souls want to do that, you can do it without having the energy drain of that connection. So you can release all of those things and feel free to connect or not connect as you desire. But whether you can feel them, that goes back to how tuned in you are. If you're really tuned into your body and you feel those things, then you might. But for other people, they probably won't even notice. And it'll just be, a fly by night kind of thing. Or if they do notice that they would never connect the dots, that's what it was. One of the things I do with people in soul introductions is I look to see if they are either missing soul facets or if they have extra soul facets, because we can give some away and we can receive some from other people. This usually happens during some kind of a big trauma. It's never a good idea because it leaves one person incomplete, so they're confused and they don't have the full connection to Creator. It leaves the other person literally with parts of themselves that don't belong there, and also confusing because things are coming in that just are not part of who they are. So we fix that with this ritual. We send back the parts, or we call back the ones if they're missing. And now I forget why I was telling you this story. It's about soul contracts being, oh, now I remember. Okay. So when you do that ritual, and you do it for yourself, if that's the case for you, you may actually feel some kind of an energetic shift when they come back if they were missing, or when they leave if you had extra. Not everybody does. Again, it depends on how sensitive you are energetically. But yeah, all those experiences are out there, and whatever you have is perfect for you for where you are right now. So it's not really something to worry about. But if you do notice it, you definitely want to write it down, because it's important if you notice it. Joan says talking to plants works. Yeah, absolutely. Especially trees, trees are so amazing. I used to cut down trees here on our property because we had an outdoor wood burner that took a lot of wood. And I finally stopped because the trees were trying to kill me. They would come down on me. I had a few come down on me. One almost tipped the tractor over because it came down on the side, and others would smack me in the face. And finally, as I became more and more tuned in, I got the message. They were not happy that I was cutting them down, even though I was using them for a purpose. But you know the difference? Unlike like in the Native American tradition where they would ask permission and pray, I wasn't doing that. That part was missing. I suspect were I to do it again and ask for permission, the trees would cooperate. But at that point, I just decided, no, I'm going to stop cutting the wood. We'll just go back to burning fuel for now until we can do something else, because it just didn't feel good to cut them down anymore. So, yeah, appreciate those trees because they really serve an amazing purpose in our world. Oil Painter says, thank you for the support, the secret life of plants and the secret life of trees. Yeah, they're so amazing and available for us to tune into. And just a reminder, and if you came late, I was telling them earlier about this amazing older gentleman on Facebook, Gary Cook, Cook, from New Zealand, who does these amazing music recordings from plants and trees. He hooks up this device and he records the songs that they're singing. So look up Gary Cook on Facebook and see what he has to share, because he's got these really beautiful videos. And he's also connected to the elementals, the fairies and the sprites and elves and things. Joan, you're an amateur gardener, but when you love on them, they do better. Yeah, absolutely. Because you're sending them energy and they feel that and accept it. It's really interesting. I had a number of sessions in the records where plants and trees came forth. One time I had this whole row of purple tulips that came out and shared a message with me. So, yeah, they show up and connect with us however we will allow them to. Donna, you said Mama Peggy has a green thumb and grows everything bigger. Yeah, yeah, she really did a number with you. Absolutely. It's so amazing. And she does incredible work with those bees too. So grateful for Mama Peggy and what she's bringing to the world. Starfish says you can ask for angel protection every time you get in the car. Yeah, I do that. Sometimes I forget, but almost always. And usually I remember within a little bit of going, because, why not? And something else I've been playing with when I remember is, you get a new car and you know how it always gets banged up and bumped and scraped in parking lots? I realized one day, my gosh, why don't I just ask the angels to put a bubble of protection around my car so that whether I'm with it or not, it's protected and I don't have to worry about it. Since I've done that, I've noticed, I don't know if it's 100%, but way far fewer things are happening to the car. So I'm going to accept that as a gift from the angels. And that's the thing. We can ask for so many things that we don't think about. You can ask for angels to be sent to someone for a specific purpose. You have the right to do that, and they will go, because the angels serve at our pleasure. That's what they're there for. Joan, boundaries are good. Yeah, super, super important. There's a sensitive group of people that I work with who, for them, boundaries are everything, because without the boundaries, they become a victim of their gift. Being a highly sensitive person was always intended to be a gift, not to victimize you. Creator wouldn't do that. So it's about learning to create those healthy boundaries so that your gift then can come forward and be used in a purposeful fashion, however you choose to use it, to serve yourself and others. Joan, if that's their reality, it's true. It's relativity. Yeah, that's pretty much what they told me. So it's like, stop poo-pooing whatever somebody else believes. It's their reality. They're creating it, and that's their right. And none of us and have the ability to take that away from them. So why go there? Just allow it, accept it, move on, and do your own thing. Hi, Barb. So glad you could join us. Joanna, you've got a memory standing with a shorter boy looking over a railing down into the clouds, pointing at a house that you and your twin brother were born. Oh, wow. That is so beautiful. So yeah, that's a past life memory for sure. Well, not a past life, but it's a otherworldly memory of when you were out of body. So yeah, those things will come sometimes in dreams, or I've had them just kind of spontaneously pop in. And it's like I just see it like a movie. And it always comes for a reason. So that's the other thing to know about this. You wouldn't have gotten that vision at that point in time unless it was important to something that was happening for you. So lean into it. Look at what's happening in your life. How is that connected? Why did you need to know that now? It's like I wrote about this in my book, that I learned once I started doing this Akashic work that my former husband and I had been married in a past life, and he had murdered me. So we had this unfinished karma to deal with. And that's why we ended up getting married in this lifetime. And I had all this victim energy to resolve. So the situation I was born into, there was a lot of victimology. There was a lot of victimology with him. I felt before I left him, if I didn't get out of there, he would kill me. And that came from somewhere. But of course, I was not awake at that point. I had no clue it had anything to do with the past life. So all these years later, they showed me this picture of me being murdered by my husband in that lifetime. And then first they gave me that. And then a little while later, because they didn't want to dump too much on me all at once, then I got the insight that, oh, and that was your ex-husband. So, wow, ding dong, all the dots getting connected. So if they showed you that, Johanna, dive into it if you haven't already and figure out what's the bigger message there to get. Hi, Terry. So glad you could be here. Water Muse, thanks for coming. Oh, it just jumped on me again. Hang on. There we are. Joan, you're asking, am I anti-vaccine? I don't tell anybody what to do. For myself, I don't choose vaccines. And that comes after vaccines nearly killed my horse, which is, more of my journey of awakening about these things, that the medical system lies a lot. They put on every package that you should not vaccinate an animal or a person who is not healthy. And yet they do it all the time. The doctors don't show us these inserts, and so we don't know it. So when I got my horse, I was boarding her in a barn in Brooklyn, New York. They required 7-in-1 shots every 6 months, which is way, way overkill. And it was really a scheme about making money for the vet. I've learned that later. But every time they gave these shots to my horse, she got sicker. She would get this huge lump. She would have an infection. Her feet would get hot. If you know anything about horses, their feet getting hot is really, really bad. They almost killed her with that, because the next step is that the coffin bone in the hoof drops. They found her. And a lot of horses don't come back from that. So every 6 months, she would just be starting to heal from the last time she got shots. And only because I was using all kinds of natural remedies to aid her in healing. But it took me 6 months. And then they gave her another dose. And it was this endless vicious cycle. So I did a lot of research. I found out more about what was happening. And I finally found a vet who would come to the barn, and he would certify that she could not have any more vaccinations because they had given her vaccinosis. So she was very sensitive. Her body could not tolerate those toxins any longer. And for myself, I don't feel a need for any. If I do feel a need, I will get them. But right now, I feel that it's not necessary for me. And my guides have backed that up. But I don't give advice on this for anybody, because if that's your choice to do that, that's what's right for you. And we all need to do that. So hope that helps. Storm Cloud, Earthtopia sounds like a vision that you would like for the future. Yeah, definitely find that. It is. It's beautiful. And we are all going to have such an amazing life when we get there. But that doesn't mean that we put everything on hold and only focus on the future. We do want to be present today and do everything that we can so that we get to Earthtopia faster. I hope that makes sense too. Terry, you get vertigo when you drive on the highway. Terry, send me an email, answers@akashaunleashed.com. I will send you a link so that you can try this remedy that I found for vertigo, if you want to, of course. And, I'm happy to share that information with you because it made a huge difference for me. Mine was so bad that, like those rides you get on at the fair or something like that. I was at Epcot, and I stepped off this moving platform onto the solid ground, and immediately that set me off into a massive vertigo attack. It was just that shifting that my brain couldn't handle, and it set off that attack. So yeah, vertigo sucks, and they don't have a lot of good solutions for it. The drugs that they gave me at the time turned me into a zombie. I was falling asleep at work. I almost lost my job. And finally, I just said to the doctor, you got to find something that helps me, or I'm going to take all these pills and end it all. And so then he did the brain surgery, which he didn't want to do because that was really a severe solution. And common wisdom was that it will go away on its own in time. Well, it had already been way more time than it needed to be, and I needed my life back. So I did that brain surgery, even though today I would not do that because I have more resources available to me. I would have made another choice because, as I said, I believe cutting never makes things better. It was a temporary solution, wasn't 100% effective. And as a result of that, I am a bit wobbly. So I easily can lose my balance and fall. I'm probably going to end up using canes, and hopefully not, but maybe even having, like a wheelchair or something earlier than I would otherwise, because at this age where I'm strong and healthy, I'm wobbly. So that's probably not going to get better. Although, law of attraction, I'm not going to buy into that. I'm going to hope for the best and do everything I can to stay stable and sturdy. In fact, I've been asking my guides if they can't knit that little nerve back together so that I can be less wobbly. That would be really amazing. That would be a miracle. Melinda, you understand what I was talking about with pregnancy because you were on the dot for 3 months. Your husband said you were pregnant and the test said no. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes that happens. It's a weird occurrence, and thankfully we're in the minority. But yeah, it's just an odd thing. Starfish, you've got a soul contract that is draining. So what you could do, I would make it kind of like maybe a solemn little ceremony. Light a candle, burn some incense, use some essential oil, beat a drum if you want, and just say your own little prayer and declare your intention to cut that contract, to release it. Let it go in present times and for all times unto infinity. And you make up what you want to say. If you get stuck on that and you need some help, shoot me an email and I will send you a little blurb that you can use. But you really do have the power to do this yourself. So I encourage you to do that because I'm all about empowering people. That's why I love teaching, because I've worked hard. I've learned all of this. I've experimented on myself. I'm N=1 experiment for all these things. And if I can share it with you and help you get there faster, then that is just so awesome. Barb says her trees love her. Yeah, I'll bet they do. It's such a blessing. Okay, it jumped on me again. Harry's mom, how bad is this transition going to get that would make people not want to be here? Is it like what Edgar Cayce predicted with the pole shift? I haven't read that particular prediction by Edgar Cayce, but it makes sense. It might be because the Earth is shifting on its axis. It has shifted from where it originally was. That is part of what's causing some of the turmoil with Earth, the seismic events and other things. So how bad is it going to get? That kind of depends on us. We can make it happen faster and therefore less painful if we all get together and take action sooner rather than later. That's why the guides keep beating the drum. I know I've said this before. Sorry if I'm repetitive, but that's why they're beating the drum. And so I'm sharing with you the beating of the drum. It's like, get up, people, get busy, get together. They have said we have the ability to put on our angel armor, stand arm in arm with each other. With that power, we cannot be defeated, and we will push away the darkness and bring forth Earthtopia. But it is going to be this massive psychic battle. That's why we've all got to stand up, get connected sooner, faster, raise our consciousness, raise our vibrational frequency. Hope that makes sense. Melinda, trees are well rooted. They make it through the storms. Just like us, we can become well-rooted. Yeah, most of them are, although some have shallow roots. Like here, we have trees that will just topple over in storms because there's so many rocks. It's really hard for some of the trees to find a spot where they can deeply root. And Melinda, you might want to go to my website and read that story about Elliot and the homeboys, because they explained to me trees actually have the ability to uproot themselves and travel across the land, which is what they did when they came to me in that particular message. And I was dumbfounded to see these trees walking on their roots towards me. They explained that they have chosen to be the sentinels for humanity, so they rooted themselves. But they still could choose to uproot if they wanted to. They've just given themselves to the service of humanity to be those sentinels for us, which is massive. And they explained all that in the message. Joan, you're going to do the car bubble thing. Yeah. And parking space. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny. I wrote about that in my book because as I was explaining a little bit of law of attraction, I used parking spaces as an example that most people could relate to. And somebody wrote on one of my reviews, oh, big deal, parking spaces. Everybody knows that. It's okay. Not somebody who wanted to be reading my book, obviously. So it takes all kinds, and use whatever works for you. That's the important thing. But yeah, when we go to Brooklyn, I'm asking ahead of time for those parking spaces because they can be few and far between. Linda, you do that with your car too, and ask the cars around you to be okay, and for parking spots. That is so gracious of you to ask for the cars around you as well. I never thought about that. That's beautiful. And easy access to the freeway. Yeah, those simple little things that we often overlook that can make our lives easier. Why not ask for them? It's really amazing what can happen if we just take that step forward and we use our power in that fashion. Come back, Joan. I just saw you again. Joan, it's a choice for every person. It may be good for some or not. Ask your body if it's good for you. Oh, Starfish said this to Joan. Yeah, and I'm presuming you're talking about the vaccine. Absolutely. I support that 100%. If you believe you need the vaccine and it's good for you, then you better get it, because that belief could cause you to be susceptible. You know, it is all about our beliefs. I don't believe I'm susceptible. In fact, at the beginning of the pandemic, I loaded my family up with remedies, homeopathic remedies that would help us to build the antibodies to be resistant. And my husband, David, works in a homeless shelter in Manhattan, ground zero for this virus in the very beginning. In fact, they were parking the trucks full of dead bodies outside his office building. That's how close it was. He worked through that entire time. People in his office died. Clients died. Coworkers died. Some got very sick. And through it all, he was fine. So I believe in those remedies. He believes in those remedies because I've taught him and he's seen through example that they work. And because that's our belief, I believe, we've stayed healthy through it all. My daughter and her husband didn't take the remedies. They both got sick. My granddaughter took the remedies. She didn't get sick. I don't know. I look at that as cause and effect and make my own conclusions, but that's what we all have to do. But definitely honor your own beliefs, because it's one of the pet peeves I have are these people who are so into law of attraction to the extreme, where in my belief it's not quite healthy, and they put that on other people, forgetting that you can't just go from 0 to 100 instantly believing in law of attraction and making yourself safe from things like the virus. You've got to go through the phases of developing that belief, expanding into it. And some of these people are out there ridiculing others and castigating them for not having the belief that they can be safe. And it makes me really sad because they are harming people who believe them. But we're all responsible for our own choices and actions. So I try not to get too much into that, but that's just the other piece of it, that sometimes we can get overzealous about things that we're enthusiastic about and believe, and I can do it too. We're all guilty of it at times. So while I love homeopathics and I believe there's practically a remedy for everything, that may not be your cup of tea, and that's fine. So we all have to do what feels right for us. Melinda's asking, did my ex kill anyone else? In the past lifetime, I don't know, because they only showed me the part that pertained to me. He ran me down with his car and killed me because I was trying to leave him. And he always told me if I left, he would kill me. So he did. My ex in this lifetime, as far as I know, has not killed anybody. He went a bit insane during that bad time of our lives together. And he's since become a better person. Still not my favorite person, but, better. So I don't believe he's killed anybody. Starfish, you took the flu shot in 86 and you couldn't get out of bed for 2 years. You were so sick you couldn't operate or think. But yeah, it's up to everybody. Yeah, I understand. People have gotten Guillain-Barré syndrome. They've gotten other things from vaccines. There are just some of us who don't resonate with those toxins they put in the vaccines. That's part of the problem. And honestly, the whole Johnson & Johnson thing, after reading what they did with the baby powder and the arsenic, and that caused cancer for a lot of people, and they knew about it and kept doing it. A lot of pharmaceuticals do that stuff. They know about the harm, and they make a decision that it's less expensive for them to pay the claims when they happen than to fix the problem. And I don't know, I'm just skeptical about those kind of things, but that's me again. Terry, you were wondering if it had something to do with metal energy, huh? I'm not sure what you mean there, Terry. So if you can elaborate down below, then I'll get to that. Bonnie, if anybody gets COVID, ivermectin works to cure it. It's been around forever. Tried and true. They use it for malaria, no side effects. Yeah, interesting. I don't know about on people, but ivermectin they use on horses and dogs. But I stopped using that because, again, there's toxins in the ivermectin. So again, it's pick the thing that works for you and use it. But I suspect the ivermectin would be less damaging than some of the things, mercury and formaldehyde, whatever else they put in some of those vaccines. AD says, thank you. You are so welcome. Delighted you joined us. Oil painter, you're talking about, where did you go? Wimhoff breathing technique and yoga breathing. You do that daily. It's amazing. You can heal and change with that alone. Yeah, I believe that. Metatron has said many times that deep belly breathing is so important for us. If we would just do a little more deep belly breathing, we'd have so fewer problems, starting with stress, which of course starts a whole, avalanche of other things coming after it. But it's important to do that deep belly breathing periodically, which reminds me, years ago, I don't know if you ever saw this series, McHale's Navy, but the mother of the sergeant would come in, and she was one of these robust women, and she believed in that deep breathing, and she would do that. And it was just so funny as a kid watching that. But some of you might remember that. But yeah, even back then, people knew that deep breathing was really important. Oxygen's kind of important. Candela, you're happy to be here. I'm delighted you're here. Thanks for coming. Oh, and that reminds me, you guys, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. That'll help tremendously. And if you wouldn't mind, I would deeply appreciate if you haven't already subscribed to please subscribe. Because like I said, we got to get this message out to more people. Melinda says, sometimes when you walk, it shifts and you get wobbly. Have you ever just been standing and felt like your body was knocked down a quarter inch? Huh. No, I can't say I've had that exact experience, but our bodies do all kinds of weird things. Is there something that's causing that you're aware of, Melinda, that maybe needs attention? Or maybe it's your guides trying to get your attention. Sometimes they do weird things. Probably not that weird, but yeah, anything's possible. Storm Cloud, oil painter, I use the Wimhoff breathing technique and the cold showers. Cool. I've heard a lot about Wimhoff. It didn't appeal to me, but I'm honestly and truly, I'm so enmeshed in the records, and it's so vast. I'm never going to get even a portion of it. So for me, that's just, all inclusive. So I don't do a whole lot outside the records anymore. Although I used to, I've studied a lot of things before I found the records. But yeah, it's really cool to hear the stories. Melinda, let's stand arm in arm, everybody. Amen. Yeah, absolutely. Put on that angel armor, stand up tall and proud, and know that you are a divine being and you can do this. You came for this reason, to bring us into Earthtopia. Stormcloud says, you've changed bone injuries that are 40 years old and other issues as well. That is, oh, Oil Painter said that too, Stormcloud. Sorry, I got that wrong. Yeah, that is awesome. And you did that with the Wimhoff, I'm presuming you mean. Yeah. Anything can be healed. You know, our bodies are turning over cells. What is it, what is it, 120 days, 90 days? I don't know. There's some number there, but yeah, we're constantly rebuilding our cells all of the time. So we were made to regenerate. I've even heard of this lady who was 100 years old, had lost all of her teeth, and grew a whole new set. Now, I don't know what was in the water she was drinking, but I'd sure like to have some of that. If it's possible for her, it's possible for all of us. We haven't tapped into a fraction of what we can do yet once we raise our consciousness and we step into that energy and those beliefs that we can actually do it. Joanna, you're so welcome. Thank you for the star. Candela, can you recommend any ways to get equipped with information regarding homeopathic remedies? Yeah, there is a website that I studied a lot. It's Joette, Joette, Calabrese, CALABRESE.com. She's an amazing homeopath in upstate New York who writes articles and shares remedies that she uses for people. And then there is a book, can't remember the name of it, but it's by the Doctors Banerjee. That's Banerji. You can find that book on Amazon. It is full of the protocols they use to treat all kinds of things, including cancers. The family Banerjee has been treating people with everything under the sun for over 150 years. They have documented what they're doing, the success cases. They are now being invited to the US to lecture on treating cancer with homeopathics. So that's kind of my go-to Bible now, because I can just look up whatever it is, and most everything is included there, and find what their prescription is, and then just get those remedies. And you can get the remedies on Amazon, other sites online, just, Google whatever it is you're looking for, see what works for you. But yeah, it's out there. It is real medicine. They used it before we had pharmaceuticals. It's based on like treating like, and it works amazingly. It's an energy medicine. So I love it. There are a few things you need to learn about it, like, you don't touch the little pills with your fingers because the oil in your fingers can dilute them, and a few other things. But yeah, like don't have caffeine within 30 minutes of taking a remedy. So stuff like that. And if you want to know about that, again, just email me. I've got that all saved in my database, and I can just shoot you a copy of it. Terry, it's very material consciousness too. Yeah, there's a lot of that, and it does interfere, but that's what the light workers are coming out of. And we're connecting more on that divine level to who we are energetically and spiritually. So as we do more of that, life flows easier, and we will all get there together. Melinda, amen. I believe not to take the vaccine. Yeah, then that's right for you, Melinda. But for somebody else, it's not right, because they're in a whole different energy and mindset place. If David had said he wanted to take it because they tried to get him to take it at work, I would support that. That's, an individual choice. Oil Painter, a friend asked if you would get, I don't know, then dropped a card of Our Lady of Guadalupe from my wallet. The next morning, you got a call to go to Our Lady of Guadalupe for a shot. So you got the shot. Oh, I love that. That's a great story. And it's a perfect example of how your guides work with you. So they gave you that God wink. They brought it to your attention. You took action. And that's the important piece. Often they will bring something to our attention, and then we forget it, we ignore it, whatever, and we don't take the action. So when you do notice it, take action as quickly as possible. That gets you moving forward faster, and then they can help you with more things. So it's really amazing. Amy, you are so welcome. I'm delighted that you are here. Okay, and Stormcloud, you don't resonate with pharmaceuticals at all. You're very sensitive to chemicals and respond well to the homeopathics. And you found a wonderful homeopathic doctor. That is awesome. So happy for you. Because, you know, I've done all this research myself because my soul is wired to be a researcher, which is part of why I'm doing Akashic Records, right? Because it's a lot of research. I'm always the one to ask why and get more information. So I've done the research for myself and I found a few resources, and then I've captured it in my own database because I used to build databases before I got to the records. And isn't that an amazing synchronicity? My guides led me to that. I fell into that line of work. And the Akashic Records are a massive database. So I was being trained even then, and I didn't know it. It boggles my mind sometimes. Storm Cloud, no, I got you. Okay. Starfish, been fantastic. You got to make dinner. Okay, awesome. Yeah, we should be wrapping up shortly anyway. Sheila is doing a live probably in about 5 minutes for her members, and I'm a member, so I'm looking forward to popping in to see what Sheila's got to share tonight. And for those of you who don't know, that is Celtic Tarot Sheila, who is phenomenal. I adore her. And a lot of people who are here tonight are part of her group. So they will know what I'm talking about. And those of you who don't, go find her on YouTube. She's amazing. She does political tarot readings. And she was a godsend during the whole horrendous affair that we've just been through, helping all of us to stay a little bit sane. Okay. Melinda makes sense about the guides. Yeah. Dive into that a little deeper, Melinda, and see what it is they're trying to tell you, because that is a fascinating way to connect with you. Oil Painter, the name of the homeopathic book. I can't remember the exact name, but if you search on Amazon for Banerjee, Banerji, you should find it. It's, you know, it's clearly a homeopathic book. It's a hard book, hardcover book, and it is just amazing. If you're interested in natural remedies, you will love it. Okay, you guys, I don't see any more comments, so you must have all popped off or just about to. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being here. It was a delight. Maybe I'll see some of you over at Sheila's in a little bit. And post your questions. Let me know what you want to know, because I'm getting new messages all the time, and I'm happy to put your questions in there. And for those of you who haven't already signed up for my VIP group to be on the Zoom call on June 19th, you can do that at akashaunleashed.com/VIP. You'll find that link in pretty much all of my videos in the description so that you can join us. We do that once a month on usually the third Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And there we do the personal questions. So it's an amazing gathering. The energy is high vibe. And because we're on Zoom, we can see each other and connect, and it's a whole different experience. So I'd love to see you there. Okay. You're welcome, Melinda. Barb, you love Sheila. Yeah, she's so amazing. Stormcloud, your husband took the vaccine, you didn't. And you treat yourself at the homeopath was a good teacher for starting out. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, there's a flu remedy that they had as a nosode that I took. It the influenza, that's what it was called, and they stopped making it because it needed to be updated for the new stuff that was going on. I don't know if they've made more of it, but I always get a large bottle because, you know, those things last forever. They're very inexpensive. They last a really long time because you just take those tiny little pills, and it's amazing. Oil Painter, you are so welcome. See you at Sheila's. Awesome. Laura, oh, you are so welcome. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. It was a delight. And Candela, you are welcome. Okay, you guys, so I am going to hit the end button on this. Hopefully it will stop. That's always interesting on this platform, right? So let me hit the end here.